close this curtain. What's up, everybody? This is your girl Kelly, and this is everything in between. I went to a plantation today. I went to a slave plantation today. I cannot put into words how that affected me, how that's affected my life. Um, So let me just give it to it. So this video won't be all that exciting. I'm not going to do any editing and skip around to keep you interested. I hope you listen to the whole thing. But I'm just going to keep it raw, real, and be really real with you right now. Go to a plantation. Take your kids to a plantation. White, black, Latino. Especially, actually, if you Latino, seriously, go to a plantation. And I'm going to say that to you guys because there's a lot of information that gets misconstrued to you all, and I know that because I have a lot of Latina friends that I used to hang out with more so than now, but that we talked, and it's just so much that people don't know about African Americans when they come here, including Africans, and they come here and they assume or judge, um, and it's just so much that we have had to deal with. Now, I'm not going to make this video a woe is me video. This video is just basically my reviews on this particular plantation and how it has affected me, and to encourage you to take your children and you go to a plantation. So I visited the historic Rosedale Plantation in North Carolina. The grounds are really beautiful. The mansion or house, the big house, was probably very, very nice and it was well constructed for its time. It's over 200 years old and it's still standing. It has a lot of original artifacts in there, a lot of original things. I'm not going to tell it all because I encourage you to go. What I will say though is that when you go to a slave plantation and you actually standing in a room where somebody got whipped, or somebody got raped, or just humiliated and degraded, and if you standing in a room likewise a room where you might have been a little white boy and you can't figure out why your friend and you can't play no more, and why your mom and dad are hitting these people, clearly they crying and yelling when you hit them, but teach me not to hit people. So I know it could have only been so torturous for everybody, not everybody, but for African Americans, and I'll say little white kids. We like to always think about how horrible slavery was when we think of putting ourselves in the place of the white person or the massa or the person in charge, the owner of the slaves. We get angry, or we think, F them. And I do too, and I still do. But you have to realize that they were once children, and technically, probably chances are, they were taught and bred to be that way, which doesn't make it right later. But I feel sorry and never really thought about the little white kids in slavery and how they were made to give up their friendships and to watch such horrific torture to probably their friend's dad or their friend's mom, who they might, or even who they would have considered a mom, because black women we raised white babies. So it's just sad. It's sad, but somehow it's also strangely liberating. When I got there, I didn't know how to feel when I first pulled up. I didn't know if I was going to break down crying, if I was going to want to call every white person on the tour, a name. I just went with the flow and was just going to see what happened. I went with my son, and I said, whatever emotion that I do have, I'm going to allow myself to have it. I'm going to allow myself to be pissed, I was going to even allow myself to say something crazy. I was just going to prepare myself, But luckily, nothing really overcame me to the point where it embarrassed me, embarrassed my son, embarrassed anybody there. I was very emotional, though, to see just everything. Again, I don't want to go into detail because I'll give it away. But I encourage you to go. One of the things I pull from this experience is when I think about when you hear people say, especially white people that say, and when I say white people, let me clarify something. I don't want to group all white people together because I hate when they group us together. So, there are, especially with me living in a rural part of the country for quite a while around rural white America, there's a huge difference in the regionally in white people. The rural whites don't think like the southern whites, and the southern whites don't think like the midwestern whites or in northern whites. It's a big difference, and unless you lived with them in that capacity, you won't know what I mean. I've lived with midwestern whites, southern whites, and rural western northwestern whites. There's a huge difference, honestly, in a lot of how they think and operate with black people. So, when I say what I'm gonna say, in the South, where the plantation is that I saw, um, I guess really what I'm trying to say is that certain areas of white people have less or more patience with the slavery thing in general. If you weren't around blacks a lot in your life, you may not be able to identify with the effects of slavery. You may know that it happened and you may realize that it was awful, but unless you live on a day-to-day around blacks, and I don't mean like 3 blacks on the block, I don't mean 10 families that's moved in your neighborhood in the last 10 years. I mean blacks, like metropolitan urban area black people. You won't know. All you'll know is what you learn in the history books, which we all know left out 90% of the truth. And then all you'll know is what you see on the news. So the reason why you must go to a plantation is because it makes it all real. Otherwise, it's just stories. You got to go there and see the shackles, see the stuff that actually people were standing in. And I know that there's a lot of white people, especially that even I know, that kind of feel like, in this day and age, it was so many years ago, and if you pull up your bootstraps and get a job and blah blah blah, live the American way, you'll be all right. And we all know that's not true. But when you go to a plantation, it puts it all into perspective, and you'll realize that the race was not fair. Just to see the mansion up close and to know that my ancestors or somebody's ancestors as African American um, built that for free, and probably with somebody on a horse with a whip behind them. So this is not a pity party video, but I will say that it is very emotionally draining. But it is something that has to be done. You have to allow yourself to go and see that and feel that. If you white, I don't care. If it's uncomfortable, it was uncomfortable for my people for 400 years. So go and be a good parent in that. Like, to take your 10-year-old to a plantation as a white person is not bad. It's not like, oh, why would I bring them to a plantation so they can feel bad or guilty or whatever? You're not doing it for that. The reason you take your white kid to a plantation is so that when they get to be your age, they don't say things like, just you guys are just whining, or slavery was so long ago, or quit playing a race card, or you looking for a handout. What about black on black crime? If you go to a plantation, you won't say that no more. I kid you not. Because if you really know about the whole fake fictional black on black crime phrase, then you will understand why it probably is that way. And I don't believe in black on black crime. But if you do believe in black on black crime, then it would go to say, after seeing a plantation, many things will add up that may not have added up before. And that's what this video is about. It changed my life. I will never take for granted the things that I use on a day-to-day basis. The things that we just use that we don't think about. We think about everything that doesn't matter, but we don't think about the stuff that matters, that people were inventing, accomplishing, and moving so far ahead in light of. My video cut off and I was just too emotional to finish. Please visit a plantation near you. It's worth every minute. These people are some of the strongest that ever lived, and I'm just proud to be a descendant.